What's going on, guys? In today's video, we're going to be throwing a bomb at the wall. So if you've been following the project so far, you should already have a bomb from the last video. But if you haven't been following the project, you can actually download this in the description of the video for free. So if you guys are enjoying the series so far, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, all right. So the first thing we need to do before we actually do anything is if we go to the edit menu at the top, we can click project settings. This selection here, this is called the input manager. This is super important because if we set up a button, we want to be able to change that button, and we also want it to work on controller. So right now you can see we have Fire 2 set up. This can be us throwing a bomb. So let's change the name of this input to bomb. And then down here where we have Fire 2, again, we could set this to bomb as well. This is the controller input, right? So this bomb down here, you can see it's joystick button 1. Which I don't know what key that is. You can look it up. I'm just doing this on computer, but you would select the positive button that you want it to be. So like X or square or whatever, right? So you need to look up what that is if you want this to work on controller. Just for this demo, I'm not going to be using a controller. I'm only using my keyboard, right? So this is going to be the bomb button that we're going to be using to determine when we're using a bomb. So we're going to make the positive button the letter G on the keyboard, right? But we want to get rid of the Alt positive button. So this is the right mouse button. We don't want this to be set, and the gravity and all this other stuff doesn't matter because we're using a key or mouse button. This drop down needs to be key or mouse button. Real quick, if you're trying to add extra inputs, because we have bomb here, right, and there's only 3 fire options set up here, you can right click this and click duplicate array element to add another input that you could use for this. And I just got to take my dog out real quick, but then we'll continue. Okay, so now that we've set up the button that we're going to use, you just need to memorize whatever the name of the input is, because this is how we actually call it, and you need to remember what button actually does this input. So we're just going to close out of the input manager, and we need to create a script for the bomb, right? So at the bottom here where we have a scripts folder, if we right click, we can create another folder, and we'll just call this bomb. And then inside of this, we're going to make another script, and we'll call it bomb script. So the bomb script is going to be attached to your player. Okay, so if you're in your own project, you could make a cylinder at this point, or you could make whatever you want to. It doesn't really matter. So we're going to drag the bomb script onto the player, and then we're going to double click the script to open it up. Okay, so after we've opened it up, let's get rid of the start method, and we actually need the prefab for the bomb. So this bomb that we've added to our game, you can see how it's highlighted blue. That's because we've made a prefab out of it. So in my game, if you've been following my project, we made a copy of this bomb in this folder. Now, before we add this prefab to this folder, let me just delete the prefab so it's not here so you can do this. Mine's red, but yours should be like just a gray normal color. We want to add a box collider to it. And then we need to add a rigid body to it as well. So the rigid body is going to freeze the rotation because we want it to stay facing upwards. We don't want it to be all rolling all over the place. You can do that if you want to. You just have to turn these things off. And the position doesn't actually, yeah, so we need to freeze the position on the X, Y, and Z. So when he shakes out this bomb, it's going to be above the player's head. Like the character will be here and it'll be above the player's head. We don't want it moving around. Like as the player moves, it shouldn't be moving until he throws it or drops it. And when he drops it, it's still not going to move. We're going to just set it on the ground below him. The only time it will release these constraints is if he throws it over his head at somebody. Okay, so if you've set this up with the rigid body and the box collider, click on this and make sure that it's going around the bomb. It could be like this. It doesn't need to be the full size. When it hits, it will blow up. It'll be close enough, right? So then we want to drag this bomb back into the bottom part. I'm probably going to export the prefab. It's going to be part of the package that you can download from the description. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you just downloaded the package from the video, you don't have to do this. This should already be there. But yeah, if you're following along from the previous project, you need to drag this bomb and make a prefab out of it, okay? And then, so for my project, I want this to be saved in the player class, okay? So we're gonna, at the right below attacks here, we're gonna make a static game object, and we're gonna be calling this bomb. So then what we can do is in the initialize player, we're gonna input the bomb, and then inside of our game, this is what we're doing for almost everything that we put into the thing. We initialize the game and then we put the prefab into this static class so we can use it in all of our scripts and we can reuse it, because it's really important. Like, you should be able to access this from any class. I mean, the bomb, I guess you don't really need that too much, but for a lot of them. So if you're following this and you're not following my project, what you need to do is just, instead of doing this inside of the initialized player, public game object bomb, you would do this inside the bomb script. So you would put that same public game object bomb at the top of the bomb script, and you could drag this bomb into the bomb script, into the slot. So you would drag the prefab that we made into this slot here. I'm using a static class for this. If you're following the project, which you should be, if you're on this video, you should be following my project. But yeah, so then inside of the update method, we're actually going to do if input dot get, I think get button. Yeah, get button up, and it's going to be bomb, because that's our bomb button. So let's put debug.log here, and we'll just put spawning bomb above head, and then we can try to run this. Hang on. Okay, so if you press G on your keyboard, if you've done this correctly, you should see spawning bomb above head in the bottom. Also, if you press the input key on the controller that we set up in the input manager, it should also work. Again, I don't have a controller connected, but if you are setting it up for controller as well, you could check if the X button bombs the bomb, or whatever the button is. I don't know what the inputs are, but all right. So now that we know that the input button works, so when we press G or whatever this input button is set up in the input manager, it does this. Now we can actually make it spawn a bomb above our head. So what we need to do is instantiate, and we're going to do player.bomb. Now, if you're doing it from inside of here, you would just put whatever your variable is in here. So the position that we want to instantiate it in is going to be the transform position plus new vector 3. And we're just going to try 10 above the player's head for right now. Cannot convert from, oh, okay, because we're, the second parameter is looking for a transform. We need to put the rotation as well. So the rotation is going to be quaternion.identity, or it could be the rotation of the bomb itself. So if you use the prefab, you could use the player.bomb.transform.rotation as well. And then lastly, we need to attach this to the parent, which is the player, right? That way, when the player is moving around, it stays above the player's head. So if you run this, we should be able to spawn a bomb above our head by pressing G. Okay, so the object we want to instantiate is null because we didn't set it in initialize player. Okay, so we put a slot for the bomb here, but we didn't actually set it. So we need to do player.bomb is equal to bomb. Okay, so now when we press play, we should be able to spawn a bomb above our head. All right, so in this case, the rotation of the bomb is wrong because it's getting multiplied by the rotation of the player. So we need to set the rotation to be that of the prefab. So let's do that. So inside of the bomb script, instead of using quaternion.identity, we're going to use player.bomb.transform.rotation. So this should set it to the rotation that the prefab is rotated in. All right, so now we got this gigantic bomb above our head. Now this to me is way too big, so it needs to be smaller. And then as well as our character is not doing, we don't have the visual of the character, hang on. Our character is not doing the animation, so his staff needs to disappear and his hand should go into the air. So the first thing we need to do is in the bomb prefab at the bottom here, just change these numbers to 150. Okay, so inside of the script, we're going to delete this section for the debug log, and we want to set the player's state to be holding bomb. Okay, so usually he's idling, right? But now he's going to be holding the bomb, and we need to create an animation for this thing that he's doing, right? So if we go into the player's animator, this is his animator so far, and we want to add a new state, and this is going to be holding bomb, right? So then inside of our player, okay, and I guess I messed up. I had all of the animations attached to the player that I initially exported, but it didn't actually include the bomb ones. So I've uploaded these 3 animations to the video as well. I'll put them as a separate file from the bomb file. Yeah, so there's 3. There's idle, throw, and walking. So idle would be him holding the bomb above his head. Walking will be him walking around with the bomb. So like if he's moving, he should be walking instead of just holding it above his head. So we need to put the idle one into this one, the holding bomb slot. Then we need to create another state, which is going to be bomb walking. And we're going to drag this grenade walking into the walking slot for this. And then we need to actually put these between each other. So the speed is, if this is going to be speed 0. So we need to transition between doing this and then transition back. So if he's holding the bomb, we should, so inside of the conditions, there's no transition time. So get rid of the exit time and get rid of the transition duration. It could just be 0. No exit time at all. Just disable that. And then we need to add a constraint. The condition at the bottom will be that speed is greater than 0.1. And if the speed is less than 0.1, then it'll go back to holding the bomb. So we want him to be holding it above his head when he's not moving. And then he should be doing this animation when he is moving. Hopefully this is going to work with the character. I haven't set this up in like a year. That's the last time I actually set this up. So hopefully it will just be working. But yeah, so we want to play this animation. So we'll call player.animator.play and then holding bomb. And then automatically because we're going to be walking around and we're going to be changing our speed while we walk with our player movement script that we initially made. We're setting this speed when we move around. When we change the speed, it should go back and forth between holding and bomb walking. We also need to disable the player's staff. So we need to save the player's staff inside of this so that it can be invisible. So what we need to do is if we go to the player again, which is our static class where we're saving all our variables, we want to do public static transform. Actually, let me make it a game object, player staff. And then in the initialized player, we want to add an input for this. So public game object player staff. And then player.staff is equal to player staff. And then inside of the game, we want to drag the staff into that slot. So that way we can disable it when we actually go to throw the bomb. So inside of Stick Wizard tutorial on the left here, inside of Armature Bone, there's staff 1. This is what he's holding in his hand, right? So we want to click on the player himself. And then in the player staff slot, we'll drag this staff and then we can save this. So what we want to do is inside of the bomb script, before we play this player animation, we're going to say that player.staff set active false. So we're turning off the staff before we do this animation because when he picks up the bomb, he's holding the bomb in his hands. He can't be holding a staff and the bomb at the same time. So let's see how that works out. Okay, so let's look in the scene view. Oh shit, our player's not visible. Yeah, so you can see that our player is holding the bomb, but the bomb needs to be higher above his head because right now it's mounted inside of like the character's head, so that kind of looks stupid. Let's delete this flashing bomb from the scene. So right here, we've set it to be 10 above him. Let's do 20. So when we're instantiating, this is the object we're instantiating. Sorry, the first thing before the comma is the object we're instantiating. Transform, this is the object that has this script attached to it, right? So this is the player's position and the new vector 3. So this is the x-axis, which is like left and right. This is the y-axis, which is like up and down. So this makes it 20 above his head. This is the z-axis, which is like towards you, like towards you on the screen, and then backwards, like away from you on the screen. And then this is the parent object. Sorry, this is the rotation, which is going to be the same as the bomb from the prefab. And this is the parent object, which is what we're attached to again, right? So by attaching it to the player, it should follow the player around. So if we've done this correctly, it should be above our head by 20, and the character should, when we start walking, you should see his feet moving. So let's see if we can, we should leave this on. So if we press G, you can see he's holding the bomb, which is still, I think this is too big still. It needs to be not as big. And that's way too far above his head. So like, let me move the scene view to the left here and I'll leave the player on the right. So you can see like, okay, so right now he's sliding around. So we don't actually want that. We want him to actually be moving. So let's go back for a sec. Okay, so the reason he's sliding around is in the player movement script. We're only moving the character or changing this float when the state is set to idle. But in this case, the state is not set to idle. The state is set to bomb walking or bomb idle or something. Let me just find out. Holding bomb. Yeah. So let's check or player.state is holding bomb, right? So if it's idling or he's holding the bomb, then we're going to be able to set the speed. The speed will go in between the two things because we'll be in that section of the animator. So it won't actually do the normal walking animation. We'll be doing the bomb holding one. So we have to set that. We're going to actually just move the bomb down. When we move it down, it should make it smaller. The reason that it's bigger is because it's so much closer to the camera. So reducing it to 150 is probably going to be good enough, but let's just give it another try here. Hang on. Okay, so we press G on the keyboard. Now you can see it's like right above his head. This bomb is still too big, I think, and it needs to be maybe 13 instead. Okay, also we have the problem where it's going back and forth between the two endlessly. It looks like it's like flickering between the two. Let's see this in the animator for a sec. So if we put the animator over here on the left side, let's see what it looks like. Hang on. If we click on our character, you can actually see where it is. So it's flickering back and forth between hold bomb and bomb walking. So we need to, okay, and it turns out the reason it's flickering between the two animations is because when he's bomb walking, the condition to go backwards is greater than 0.1. Both of the conditions are both greater. This one needs to be less than 0.1. If the speed is less than 0.1, he's going back into the holding bomb idle. Also, inside of this bomb script, we should only be able to pull out a bomb when our player state is idle. So player.state is idle, and this should be and symbol, not or. So if you press the bomb button and we're idling, then you can pull out the bomb, because we don't want him to be pulling out a bomb like mid-attack, or like, it depends what he's doing, right? If he's doing something else already, we don't want him to be able to pull out a bomb. He should only be able to do the bomb when he's idling or walking. So this should fix the animator glitch so that he actually walks around. Let's see. Okay. And the animation is not repeating. So if we go into the grenade walking one, actually both of these can be looping. So just turn on loop time, select both of the animations and turn them onto looping. Make sure you don't do this for grenade throw, and then let's run it again. So if we press G, you can see he's holding this and he started floating. My guy, why are you floating? What the hell? Let me just see this again. Okay, so he's already floating here, which is fine because it's a top-down game. It doesn't really matter. But when you press G, he moves up himself, which we really don't want that. So we need to go into this animation and find out why he's moving upwards. I'm going to be uploading the one that is fixed. So in yours, it's not going to do this. And I'm not going to show you how to fix this because it's tedious. So yeah, I'll be back when I fix it. Okay, so I fixed it. I also changed the bomb size to 120 on all the axis. And then I also changed the position to be 7. This is affected by how big the bomb is. So when you lower this number needs to be lower as well. I like the result. It looks really good. And now when you press G, it doesn't actually put it like your character doesn't teleport upwards into the air. Now, this doesn't really matter too much because it's a top-down game, right? So like it's not really that important, but it does matter a little bit because it affects the animation. I don't think we can fix that. But anyway, if you're looking on this screen on the right, stop looking on the left. If you look at this screen on the right, you can see that like when we're walking around, it looks pretty normal. And then when you throw it, it will look different as well. It will look okay. So let's do the throwing now. So to set up the throwing, remember that fire 1 is our left mouse button, right? So if input.get button up, and then we use fire 1 and player state is equal to holding bomb, then we're gonna set the state to throwing bomb. And then we're going to set this back to active. So we want the staff to become... No, we don't want it actually to be active right away. We want it to be active after a period of time. Let's leave the staff off for right now. We'll just throw the bomb and leave it like that. So then we'll do player.animator.play, throw bomb. Okay, so then we need to detach this game object from the player. So we need to find the bomb and detach it. So if we do game object.find, we're looking for the bomb, so it'll be called bomb clone. So when we find this, we want to actually just save this game object. So game object go is get equal to this. And then what we can do is we'll set go.parent.transform.parent is equal to null. So we're detaching the bomb from the parent, meaning that the bomb will be able to travel through the air, because if it's still attached to the parent and it's away from the parent in front of him, it will rotate with the player. Let me open Paint so I can explain this better. So this is the player here, right? And let's say the player throws the bomb and the bomb is here, right? Well, if it's attached and the character turns this way, then the bomb will turn with the player, right? So we just want this to be completely detached from the player. We also want to set the, I think we can get component, rigid body, and then set the constraints of the rigid body to, you can either set it to none or, okay, so what we want to do is we want to set the rigid body constraints to none, but then we want to take the same rigid body and set freeze rotation equal to true. So because we want the bomb to be straight up and down, but we don't want X, Y, or Z to be frozen because we want him to throw the bomb in front of him, right? And the bomb needs to still be affected by gravity so it falls towards the ground, right? So when we unfreeze the position, the bomb will immediately start falling. So we need to add velocity to the bomb so that it goes forward. So after we unfreeze the rotation, we want to do go dot get. We should have just saved this probably into a variable, but rigid body. We're trying to go quick with this because we also have to add a particle system for the wick, like the burning effect, and then we also need to make an explosion. So we're probably 20 minutes in now or something like that. But let's set the velocity equal to this, and then we want to set maybe like 10 in the Y, so it goes upwards, and then 0 in the X, but 20 in the Z. So Z is forward in this game, right? Player dot position transform dot forward times 5 plus new vector 3 0 20 10 0. So we're gonna do it in front of the player, but also 10 upwards. So he's throwing it. It has to have like some type of like curve, right? Let me open paint. So this is my player, right? What a great drawing this is. And he's got this bomb, right? And when he throws it, it should go curvy. It shouldn't just go like straight like this. It should be like, it should go upwards in the Y-axis, and then it should come down like this. And then when it hits something, it will blow up, right? I know you like my drawings, but anyway, yeah, this should probably work. I'm not too sure, but so we need to make this animation. So we're calling this throw bomb animation. We need to actually do that. So let's go to the animator. And let's actually move the game and the bomb back into the main thing. And we'll just go to the animator so it's full screen. We need to make another state, which is going to be throw bomb, obviously. Throw bomb. And then we need to drag the animation for this bomb wherever... yeah, grenade throw can go into the animation slot. When this is done, it needs to go back to normal idling. So make a transition from throw bomb back to idle. You don't need any transitions from hold bomb or bomb walking to this because we're calling it with the dot play method. But when it's done, it needs to go back. So set the exit time to 1, which means it will do the full animation before it stops. And you can set the transition duration to 0. This means it will finish the entire animation and then go back to idle as soon as it's done. So this should be set up and ready to go. Let's see what happens when we try to do this. So we've got our grenade out here. We're walking and... Okay, so it worked, but that's not nearly enough force. We need way more force than that. So let's do 15. And then let's also put this in brackets. It will do that anyway because it uses like ped mass or bed mass or whatever you learned in school. It's like the order of operations is brackets, exponents, division, multiplication, addition, subtraction. So it would still do it in the right order, but it doesn't matter. Let's just set it like that anyway. Okay, so this looks like that worked, but yeah, so it's touching the ground. When it hit the ground, it would have blown up. It needs to go faster than this still, so let's try 45. This might be like way too much. Okay, so we need to apply way more gravity to the bomb because we want it to fall to the ground. So like as it's traveling, it should be accumulating gravity until it gets grounded, obviously. So inside of the bomb, inside of your bomb prefab, we just want to go into the rigid body and set the mass to be like 5 and set the drag to be 2. We're just turning up the gravity a little bit so that it has more of an arc so it doesn't go flying off into outer space. So I don't think it's going high enough in the y-axis. So let's do 50 in the y-axis. And then this can actually be more. So I think like 70 or 75 is fine. So this is still, that's still really bad. I don't think did I save this? Yeah, let's set the mass to like 15. We really want it to fall way faster than it's falling. It seems like the gravity is just wrong. So let's press G and try this again. Like it looks like it's slowly going to the ground at like an ultra slow pace. Let's change the default gravity to be higher instead of doing this. So set the mass back to 5, but let's go to project settings and let's go to physics, wherever it is, physics. And then the gravity set to -9. Let's just do like -25 for right now. And we'll just make it a round number instead of doing 0.81. It doesn't need to exactly match human physics. It's not the same thing at all. It's a game, right? So let's just try this and see if it's any better. Okay, so we actually still want it to be more gravity than that. It seems like that's too slow. And this will fix the other objects that we add as well. So if we add any other objects that have to fall to the ground for some reason, we want them to fall faster than that. That's so slow. It needs to be faster. How about that one? Okay, let's change the... Okay, so let's change the gravity again. Let's make it -70. I feel like this is like... It's not going down fast enough, right? Like it's just slowly going down. Maybe a bomb doesn't need any drag at all because it's a bomb. So let's turn off the drag and let's make the mass 10. And then let's hit save on this and just try it one more time. Okay, and something we're gonna do just for right now is we're actually gonna put a wall. So the drag seemed to maybe 0.5 would be better, but there should be a wall here that blocks it. So let's go into our walls and select all of them for right now. And we're just gonna raise the box collider. In your actual game, you shouldn't be using these walls at all. You should have like artwork or some type of model walls, but we're just gonna raise the walls so that if we hit the wall, it will blow up. So like we can't throw it over the wall and have it go downwards into like outer space, right? It should hit the wall and then it will blow up when it hits the wall, or bounce off of it in this case. So that you see that looks way better. So it took a little while to get to that, but so it looks like the final result is 70 in the gravity, 0.5 in the drag, and I think I changed the mass to 10, which is good. So if you throw this, it hits the wall and it drops. That's perfect. It's not actually going to drop when you hit the wall. Obviously, it's going to blow up, but you can see that this looks way cooler than the default gravity is wrong. Also, we need our staff to come back, and it looks like we're not able to attack or throw bombs. We need to set the state back to idle. So, okay, so back in our script that we have, we want to create another method called void end bomb. So this is what's going to happen when we're actually done throwing the bomb. So we're going to set our state back to idle, and we're going to set the animator. So the animator should already be going back to idle by itself, but we need to set the staff back to active. So we had disabled the staff, but when we're done throwing the bomb, the staff should come back. So we'll just set that to be active. And then what else? Okay, we're also going to make another state. Oh no, we already have a throwing bomb state. So if we're in the throwing bomb state, then we can't do either of these other states that already exist because we have to be in state idle. So this will take a second to go back. This should work. So if we save this, we should be able to throw multiple bombs now, hopefully. Oh, sorry, we have to call this method, this end bomb method. So right at the beginning of this, we'll do invoke and then name of end bomb. And then we're just going to do it after 1 second. So there's like a 1 second delay before you can do anything after you're done throwing the bomb. They should make your staff come active again and everything should go back to normal after you're done throwing it. So let's see. Okay, so we have this. We throw the bomb. 1 second later, our staff is back. We can throw another bomb if we want to. This time it didn't throw the bomb, and that's because this is the bomb that's selected. So it's confused. There's multiple bombs in the scene at the same time. So this is not connected at all. So we can only do this if the bomb doesn't exist in the scene. So this end bomb thing, this should happen when the bomb blows up. So we're not going to be calling this until it blows up. So let's go ahead and add the particle system above the bomb. Okay, so now we're going to make this super cool particle system that is like the emitting little sparks out of the top of the bomb, which is like one of the cooler parts of the bomb. So the first thing you need to do is make a material. Now I've obviously made the material already. So in the drop down at the top, you need to choose standard unlit as the shader. So in this drop down, you can just type in particles. And it's this one, standard unlit. It has particles in brackets. And then below that, you need to change it to fade and multiply. Okay, so I totally forgot how I did this. I'm going to show you in a new material. So if you right click and just create a new material, which you have to do anyway. And then in the top part here, what you want to do is go into legacy shaders, click particles, and then click alpha blended. This will give you this texture slot, right? And then you can click on that and you can type in particle. And you want to choose this bottom one that's actually choose the top one that has like the black around it. And if you double click this, what you can do is then you can type in particle at the top and change it to standard unlit particles, and it will put this particle into the thing for you. I don't know how to add it otherwise. It's not very intuitive. It's not the greatest thing in the world. But then we want to change these to the same thing. So it should be fade and multiply. And then you just want to add an emission, so this check mark, and then put this to yellow. And then you can change the intensity to like 3 or something, and it'll be glowy. So then we need to create a particle system on the bomb. All right, so we want to drag the bomb into the scene so that we can see it. You don't want to do it by double clicking on it because you can actually see the emission and you need to see how glowy it is. So then if you right click on the bomb, you can click Effect, Particle System. And we want this to be coming out of like the top of the bomb. So just like right above it. So just look at it from a side angle and just make sure that it's like just right above it is fine. And then we want to change all these settings, okay? So the lifetime should only be 1 second, but then the speed can be significantly faster. So between like, I don't know, maybe like 15 or something. And then the start size can be a random between two constants. It's just going to be 0.1 to 0.5. If you scroll down a little bit, there's a simulation space. We want this to be in world space so that it actually follows the bomb instead of just like, if it's attached to the bomb, these particles, when the bomb is moving, will stay in relative and it will look weird. And then we want to go to the emission and just change this to like 50 or whatever number you want. Just don't make it too high or whatever, but it's fine. If you do go too high, you just need to change the max particles to match it. And then we want to go to the shape and just change the angle to 5 so that these are kind of going like directly straight upwards instead of like all over the place. And then in the very bottom under renderer, we want to drag in the material that we just made into the material slot. So here we can see this is still too small at the top. They're the same size from the bottom all the way upwards. And we want to actually change that. So we're going to turn on set size over lifetime. And we want to click on this little graph thing and just do the opposite of the one that it starts as. The bottom is like thicker and then the top is thinner. In the new material, we just want to turn down the emission slightly. So, because it's a little bit too bright, you could just, I changed mine to 2.9, but you could just mess with the setting. You could even do it while it's selected, I think. But yeah, so I mean, that's it for the particle system that makes it glow. So then we want to drag the bomb back on top of our bomb prefab. So now when this spawns, it should have this particle system above it when you're walking around. So yeah, so this looks really awesome. And then if you throw it, it follows it. And then when it hits the wall, it will blow up. So we're going to do that next. Okay, so the last thing we need to make is a bomb explosion. So on the very left here, if we right click, we can create an effect. It's going to be another particle system, okay? And we can just call this bomb explosion. And we're going to be changing everything in the way this is working, okay? So the start lifetime should also be 1. It might even be less than that. The speed could be like 25 because it should be extremely fast. Maybe even 50 would be better so that it's going away from the start point way faster. We're going to be changing the emission to like 500 and it's not going to be rate over time though. So just change this to 0. In the burst drop down, create a plus, like click plus here and change this to 500 because it's a burst of particles that only happens once. And then in the shape of this, we're going to change it to a sphere instead of a cone so that it goes in a circle around there. So we actually want this to be even more. So change the max particles to 2000 and we're going to make the max, the burst particle can be 2000. So this only plays once and it shouldn't actually go that much. So the radius of this can be like 0.01 or something. So it starts at like the very center and the radius thickness can also be 0.01. So like it's just, they're all clustered together in the center and then this happens, okay? So then the size can also be different for all of them. So under the start size, let's do a random between two constants and we'll do like 1 and 2 so that some of the particles are bigger. And let's just do 0.5 and 3 instead. So some of them are really bigger and then the lifetime should only be like 0.5 and the start speed needs to be a random between two constants, and I think 50 and 250 will be good. Okay, 250 is obviously way too much, so let's make it 50 because we obviously messed that up. And then we just want to put this to like 100 or something. Okay, let's make this 50, but then we'll do 25 here. Okay, and the lifetime can just go down just slightly to 4 to 2. Okay, we don't want our bomb to be that big. Let's just do 70 and 60 to 70 maybe. Okay, so let's add the material to it so we can actually see what it's going to look like. So we're just going to use that same material that we just made, okay? Okay, so that's obviously too bright. Okay, so the colors are multiplying. This is too many particles, I think, and this is too big. So let's set the start size from 0.5 to 1 so that the particles are smaller. And then it should be a random between two colors here, and we should do like a dark orange. Okay, so we want the start size to be between 0.1 and 0.5, the same as like the little things that are above it. And I don't think these are starting in the middle. When we set 0, no, it doesn't light, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I kind of like the way that looks. That looks pretty good. So I just changed it to additive in the material. Now you should make another material for it. So I set this one to additive, but the trail for like the actual bomb itself shouldn't be additive, right? So let's go into that one. I have two materials. I have a new material and then I have bomb PS material. So I'm going to use the bomb PS material in the trail that's like following it or whatever. And then because I set this to additive so that it looks better for the explosion, we don't want that for the actual, like the trail shouldn't be like that, right? So this is a pretty good explosion. So we're going to just save this as a prefab the same way that we did before. So then we need to go into the code and we need to save the prefab again, right? So inside of the player where we put the bomb, we can put public static, game object, bomb explosion. And then in the initialized player, we can do the same thing where we do public game object bomb explosion. And then we set player dot bomb explosion is equal to bomb explosion. And then we need to go into the player itself and we need to actually put the bomb explosion into the slot. So this bomb explosion that we just made should go in here. And then we can save this. And then we need another script. So inside of our bomb folder, we're gonna do a bomb explosion script. And so this script will actually get attached to the bomb itself. So we'll drag this script onto the bottom of the bomb here. And then we want to, in the bomb thing, we need to drag this explosion back into here. So that way we make sure that the prefab has the script attached to it. So this script has to be attached to the prefab bomb explosion, and then we can delete the explosion from the scene. And then what we want to do is we want to double click on the bomb explosion script and then get rid of all this stuff, and on collision enter. Sorry, did we add a collider? We did add a collider to the bomb. So this actually doesn't get added to, I did that wrong. Hang on. So we need to go back into bomb explosion, delete the script off of it, or just remove the component of the script. The script actually goes on the bomb itself because the bomb is what's colliding with things and then the explosion happens afterwards. So we need to take that script that we just made, the bomb explosion script, and drag it onto the bomb itself. And then we need to go into the code for the bomb explosion. On collision enter, we need to instantiate if the collision dot collider.name is not equal to stick wizard tutorial. We don't want him to blow it himself up. So like his hands and stuff should not be touching the, But anyway, so we want to set this explosion, right? So we want to instantiate the player.bomb explosion at the transform position because this is attached to the bomb. And it doesn't matter the rotation because the rotation doesn't matter. It's a circle, right? So all the directions are the same. And we want to destroy this while we're instantiating it. So we'll do gameObject.destroy, and we'll destroy this after 3 seconds. The explosion will only happen one time because it's not set to repeating, but we still want to remove it from the hierarchy afterwards. So we're going to destroy this explosion that we're making after 3 seconds. That's what this means. And then we want to destroy the bomb as well. So gameObject.destroy, and then we can just type in game object here. So this one destroys the explosion after 3 seconds, and this one destroys the bomb itself because when it blows up, it should destroy itself. And this is where we're gonna set the player's state. So we can actually, inside of the bomb script, make this nbomb method static public static. What am I doing? Public static void nbomb. And then we can call, before we destroy this, we can call bomb script dot nbomb. So now when we throw the bomb and it hits something, it should blow up. Okay, so there it is. It collides pretty high in the wall. Maybe we won't apply so much vertical force to it. So let me just change this to 30 instead of 50 so it's not going up so high. Yeah, and maybe the gravity could be more as well. I'm not going to do that in this episode. I feel like this is enough for this episode. We should also make it so that we press G again and you can drop it on the ground. That's another thing. We're going to have to do another bomb video because there's a bunch of problems still. So we're not able to press G again to drop it. We need to add a bomb list to the player because if you have a bomb in his hand and he drops the bomb, you shouldn't have to wait for the bomb to blow up to use the bomb again. Also, this should be on a timer and it blows up. Also, the flashingness of it should be flashing more. It starts off flashing really slow and it flashes more and more and more as the time goes on until the timer expires, and then it blows up in your hand and hurts you, right? So right now it will just flash forever. This video is already too long, so I'm not going to be able to do that in this video, but in the next video we're going to be doing another bomb video, obviously, and yeah, we're just going to have to add more things. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.